All right, Jimmy Ott and Paul Stone. Happy Thanksgiving week to everyone. Boy, what a slate we have for this holiday weekend for college football. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, man, it's chalked with full of games and full of playoff implications. The whole thing, man. We got a lot of games with a lot of meaning. Let's start off with the big one in the Big Ten. Ohio State, Michigan, big noon game, noon kickoff on Fox in Eastern time. And Ohio State 10-44 right now at Michigan. And I guess the first thing is precautionary, maybe approach for Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan with their running backs holding them out in that win at Maryland, and Ohio State holding their receivers out in their win this past week. So Ohio State defense has given up just 7 points a game. Four straight Michigan win. You know the drill. You know what's happening here. But a consolation prize, of course. I mean, Ohio State would rather have the national championship than win the Michigan game, but losing the Michigan game doesn't guarantee you're going to win the national championship. But anyway, this is the number one seed going into the college football playoff. Of course, the winner of the Indiana Ohio State game should form whole this weekend. They would play for that number one overall seed and probably for the Heisman Trophy winner as well. The biggest game on that platform that late in the Heisman Trophy race as well. 10-44. No, neither of us have a strong pick on this game, an official release, Paul. What's your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, for Michigan, Justice Haynes, one of their top running backs, definitely will not play. Justin Marshall, I think they held him out of the Maryland game, hoping that he would be ready to go against the Wolverines and the big rivalry there at the Big House on Saturday. This take might be a little bit controversial to some out there, but I'll put this in question for him. Here we are, the last Saturday in November. And how much do we really know about Ohio State? I mean, they're number one in the nation, and that's certainly deserved. They beat the number one and number two preseason teams in Texas and Penn State, but we know how the seasons turned out for those two. They've won at Washington and Illinois, neither of which are top 15 teams. So it's just difficult to see a team whose schedule or to really just give a real good read on a team. And we know their talent level, but this is a team whose schedule is not even barely in the top 50, ranked currently number 46 by Jeff Sager. And so they're certainly deserve it. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, I think to me, from a power rating and otherwise standpoint, Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M, a little bit those three teams at the very top, bunched together just a little bit ahead of the rest of the field. After Ohio State dominated the previous 15 meetings in this series, as you mentioned, Michigan's now won 4 straight in the series, including 3 of those as an underdog. And that includes stunning the Buckeyes last year, 13-10 as a 19.5-point dog. Until that maize and blue Michigan magic runs out, I think I'd have to take the points if I was going to play it. But it's a game that I'll likely be on the sideline. One of the greatest rivalries, though, in all of college football. Never know what you're going to get. So going to be really interesting to watch it on Saturday.
No, you look at just look at the Big Ten standings, and it's top heavy. And they hadn't played Indiana yet, hadn't played Oregon, they hadn't played Michigan yet, hadn't played USC, hadn't played Washington. I mean, you go on and on. I mean, it's just Penn State's not nearly what they were supposed to be this year, and they opened up with preseason number one, but Texas is not as good as they were supposed to be. So part of it. It look, you have 136 team league in 12 games. The schedules, this can happen, is what I'm going to say. And now the committee has kicked the can. The NCAA has kicked the can as far as deciding on the format after the 26th season till January. That was supposed to be December 1st was their deadline, but there is a chance for a 10-2 logjam when they're trying to decide who is going to be who's going to make the playoff and who is not. So there's a lot of things going on right now. So it can happen, but eventually with the playoff format, we will see how good they were. And we saw how good they were last year because they were not by far the best team in college football during their 3-game run in the playoffs. Bet Rivers players Bet Rivers players who place the same game parlay of at least $10 on NFL or NCAA football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning Squares can earn up to a $50 bonus bet per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for more details. We go from not an official release to a double release, and we go to Pittsburgh and the Panthers. Boy, they came up lame with all the pomp and circumstance of game day coming up there, and Notre Dame just put a whooping on them. And but Pitt just was not competitive. That to put it lightly. Now they go to Georgia Tech and they bum rush them. Martin Heinzel, who had his roughest game against Notre Dame, started off with a bang. 2 first quarter touchdown passes led them to a 28-0 lead. Georgia Tech trying to get back into it about the 6-minute mark in the third quarter. They throw a 100-yard pick six when they were less than 10 yards away from making it a one-score game. Nonetheless, Pitt responded, and you got to wonder about Heinzel. You got to respect how he got up off the mat against Notre Dame and performed down in Atlanta in a tough environment down there. So Miami on this side right now, they're on the outside looking in as far as a playoff. If you emphasize on these rankings before they actually count, but anyway, they might have comparative scores down. I know the head up, but Notre Dame just went into Pitt and destroyed them. Does Miami need style points? We don't know. Pitt, on the other hand, trying to keep their berth for the ACC championship game as well. Miami against Virginia Tech, they didn't do it on the ground. They really relied on the right arm of the quarterback, Beck. 335 yards passing, just 83 rushing in the win in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech. I think it's just too many points here on the road. If it's chilly at all, that would help as well. I've seen some Miami teams go up on this Black Friday game up to and this will be a Saturday. But this weekend, go to Pittsburgh and look a little chilly in that atmosphere. Paul, this is a double pick for us. We like the Panthers +7 at home. The total is 51 right now at Bet Rivers.
Yeah, Jimmy, I would say and allege or contend that most of Miami's players probably didn't go to the U because of the opportunity to play a late November game in Pittsburgh in near freezing temperatures every few years. That probably wasn't part of the decision process, and nothing against the fine, hardworking men and women of the Steel City. My wife grew up 60 miles from Pittsburgh, so I have a fondness for that area. But the Canes, man, they're about fun in the sun, and there's nothing Floridian about Saturday's forecast in Pittsburgh, currently calling for a high temperature of 35 degrees and the possibility of some snow flurries. So that's not really South Beach. It's neither here nor there, but the high in Miami on Saturday back home predicted to be a balmy 77. So, and this is going to be some good Pittsburgh weather. Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, coming off that 42-28 victory at Georgia Tech this past weekend to maintain their ACC title and college football playoff hopes. The Panthers did it with a balanced attack. You mentioned the true freshman quarterback, Mason Heinzel. He threw for 226 yards. And then they had a true freshman, one of their key players, Desmond Reed's been out on offense off and on this year. But this true freshman, this past Saturday, 5'9", 180-pound Jakarian Turner, a guy who is from Florida, he rushed for 201 yards on 21 carries in that victory over Georgia Tech. So a big game, came in and filled the gap left by Reed's absence. The month of November last year certainly wasn't kind to Miami. They dropped November road games as more than a touchdown favorite at both Georgia Tech and Syracuse to miss out on the playoff. And then earlier this month, on November 1st, Miami traveled to the Hilltop there in Highland Park, Texas. They're inside the Dallas city limits, lost to SMU 26-20 as a 10.5-point road favorite. The Canes, well-compensated quarterback, Carson Beck, he's had some interception issues. There's no other way to put it across the last two seasons. Last season at Georgia, this season at Miami, he's thrown a total of 21 interceptions. That includes 2 at SMU and that recent loss. So you might get a turnover margin victory for Pitt in this big game on Saturday. Pitt's defense, bolstered by the recent return of probably their 2 best defensive players, veteran guy who plays the star position, Kyle Lewis, returned recently, and then linebacker Rasheem Biles, who was an all-ACC selection, also returned within the last couple of games. So they're better on defense. I think Pitt's going to keep this one close. They don't have to win it for us to get the money, but I like the Panthers +7 over the Canes Saturday with the temp about 35 degrees.
Log into your Bet Rivers account each Saturday to receive 2 profit boosts for same game and standard parlays, with the profit boost dependent on the number of legs included. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. A lot of FX players will tell me about, will warn me about the distractions of senior day. There wasn't a whole lot of if Diego Pavi was distracted on senior day, he really didn't show it. 33 of 39 for 484 and 5 TDs, 12 and a half yards an attempt. Oh, he rushed for one as well, and another 48 yards as they took away any type of momentum that Kentucky rolled into Nashville with. So now we go to Big Brother down the road, East Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. Hadn't been never. I would say this is easy to say. Never has this been a tougher ticket in Neyland Stadium for this interstate matchup. Vanderbilt looking for their first ever 10-win season in this and a possible playoff berth as well. This would be a nice quality win on the road against 8-3 Tennessee right now. Tennessee at Bet Rivers, Paul, is 2.5, 66. Diego's last stand here, and well, think the dogs, old Smokey, might nibble on Diego's leg over in Knoxville. You like the homestand and Vols here.
Yeah, Tennessee's obviously dominated this series historically. They hold a commanding 81-33-5 advantage over Vanderbilt. They won 6 straight over the Commodores. But that was kind of then, and this is now. This obviously isn't the same Commodore program that most of those victories were accomplished against, and certainly no Diego Pavia other than last year when Tennessee took care of Vanderbilt. At 9-2 and with losses to Alabama on the road and Texas on the road, Vanderbilt needs to pull the mild upset in Knoxville, and then they need for a couple other things to happen in some of these regular season finales to get in the playoffs. Probably a long shot. On the other hand, you've got a Tennessee team that with 3 losses, they're pretty much on the outside looking in. They have little chance of qualifying for the 12-team tournament. But I think they would like nothing more than to eliminate Diego Pavia and the Commodores from this consideration for the playoff. Both these teams feature big-time passing offenses. Pavia obviously engineering the Vanderbilt offensive attack. And then Appalachian State transferred Joey Aguilar piloting the Volunteers. I've really been impressed with Aguilar at Tennessee. Obviously, Pavia's body of work speaks for itself. But Aguilar had some interception issues at Appalachian State in the Sun Belt Conference. He hadn't been exempt from that this season at with the Volunteers. They obviously throw it a lot, and he's thrown some interceptions. But all in all, I think he's really done a good job as this season's starter for Tennessee. Both these teams average over 280 yards per game passing. Both average over 9 yards an attempt. So that's a lot of yardage through the air. And neither do a particularly good job of defending the pass. Both rank 112th or worse in passing yards allowed per game. So we're going to see some offensive fireworks almost certainly on Saturday at Neyland. As we say around here sometimes, and this might not be the best application, but I just like to say it basically every podcast, Jimmy. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And I think Vanderbilt has that crown on its head a little bit more than Tennessee in this game. I think they've got a little bit more at stake. They've got to feel like they're in the playoff hunt. Tennessee, again, knows this is kind of their opportunity to have a say in the playoff tournament. So I think, Vanderbilt has the weight of still having a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. They have defeated Tennessee at Neyland Stadium twice this century, the most recent of those being in 2013, before that in 2005. This Volunteer team, they've already lost twice on their home field this year. They lost to Georgia, lost to Oklahoma. They certainly don't want to add Vanderbilt to that list. I think Tennessee's going to get them. I think they're going to beat the Commodores Saturday at Neyland. Give me the Volunteers -2.5 over Vanderbilt.
Those 2 home losses, I mean, the end of the game, we all know about what happened to Georgia. I mean, the 4th down conversion, the 2-point conversion, the missed field goal, all allowed Georgia to get it into overtime to win that one, all very late. But it was the beginning of the Oklahoma game where they're controlling the game and moving the ball with the lead in the defensive score. It just flipped the game and deflated that 100,000 person stadium as well. Let's stay in the SEC and go to a double pick here. Now, I've got the side, Paul, you got the total, and Auburn and Alabama. The Iron Bowl, Alabama 5.5, 47 at Jordan Hare Stadium, where, well, Nick Saban, the GOAT, said that, man, strange things happen in that damn stadium, man. It haunts me. Well, if it haunts him, what's it going to do to Kalen DeBoer in his first trip there? Bama has won 5 straight in this series, but has not covered at Jordan Hare in 10 years in 5 trips. I've seen much tougher Alabama teams struggle in this building than the one that's going in there Saturday afternoon. Alabama's one-dimensional at this point. They just can't run the ball with a whole lot of effectiveness. And so, and then on the other hand, the quarterback switch for Auburn has, boy, it's promising, huh? It's from Arnold to Daniels. Remember that Missouri game where Missouri came from nowhere to come back and beat Auburn in overtime? Well, all that Ashton Daniels accounted for was he threw for 353 and 2 TDs, 89 and 2 more TDs. You do the math. That's 442 and 4 touchdowns against a pretty good defense on the road. They felt so much about him, they sat him last week so they wouldn't use the year of eligibility because this will be his 4th game. You can play 4 games in redshirt that year. So the other thing is Alabama, even after Saban, 2 years removed, is still very public. From the first game of the year against Florida State to their last real game of the year in a game against Oklahoma, Alabama was the number 1 most public bet at several outlets over the course of the season. A time or two, according to some outlets in there as well. They are public. This line is public. I've been waiting for this game. Sorry, Junior. My son's going to have a long frown on Saturday. Give me Auburn outright, plus the 5.5 and money line on this game. Paul, you like the under in this one as well.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. I mean, I think Auburn's got a puncher's chance to upset Alabama Saturday at Jordan Hare. The Tigers' most likely path to the winner's circle in this game, in my opinion, is going to be to turn the Iron Bowl into a defensive struggle, put points on the, at a premium. And I think the data, the numbers support that, this being a low-scoring game. Primary reason being that despite playing extremely challenging schedules, both these teams' defenses allow only 4.9 yards per play. So both defenses allowing under 5 yards per play, which is really low. Alabama allows 294 total yards of offense a game. Auburn only 333. None of Alabama's last 10 opponents have scored more than 24 points against the Crimson Tide. Obviously, Florida won that opener 31-17. But their last 10 opponents, 24 points or fewer against the Crimson Tide. And then Auburn, 10 of their last 11 opponents have been held to 24 points or fewer as well. So this game to me shapes up as a potentially low-scoring game. Also, Alabama's offense, not quite the same on the road. They probably play a little bit tougher caliber of competition collectively on the road since they're primarily playing conference games. But in their 4 true road games to this point, Alabama only 24.3 points per game. Auburn has started 3 different quarterbacks this season. Ashton Daniels clearly has been the most productive. The transfer from Stanford. You talked about the impressive numbers that he put up 2 weeks ago in Auburn's 45-38 overtime loss at Vanderbilt, the 442 total yards. But that's been the exception and not the rule for the most part for Auburn's offense this season. Obviously, again, they are better with Daniels at quarterback. He's a playmaker. Alabama's defense, though, certainly going to put up more resistance than Vanderbilt's defense put up a couple of weeks ago. You look at the toughest defenses that Auburn has faced this year, and I looked at 4 teams, those being Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Missouri. And in those games, Auburn scored 17 points or fewer against all. They averaged 274.5 yards per game, 13.5 points per game against those 4, and only 4.2 yards per play against those 4. So I think this is going to be a slugfest. I think first one to 24 probably wins. It's going to be a great game. I like the under 47 Saturday at Jordan Hare.
Yeah, and we've seen the NFL filter down to to college football, obviously with the money because it's money related also. And where in the NFL, when you have a high draft pick invested, you're going to give that person more than their fair share of opportunities to show that they can't get it done before you make a move to a less drafted player or the money on their contract. They get triple the opportunities. A lower paid player will. Same thing here. And so I think this is a Jackson Arnold deal where they gave and they were more and more patient with him to try and get it going, and it just was not happening. And Daniels looks like it's better. Not the first game he played, but he made a big spike in game one, in start one to start two for the Auburn offense. We don't have neither of us have a pick on this game, but we have plenty of opinions when it comes to the Ag Bowl down in Starkville. That's right, Ole Miss. I've been paying attention to this line for a lot of reasons on my radio show. We've certainly been following the Lane Kiffin thing, and it'll be a major upset if he doesn't. We'd have an announcement by this time next week down in Baton Rouge, an introductory press conference. But anyway, I looked at this line early, and a look ahead was 11 and a half. Then it opened up after the games were finished this past weekend at 9.5. It went down to 7.5 yesterday. Today it is at 7 at Bet Rivers, and I've even seen some 6.5s out there. 7 and 62.5 is the number for the Egg Bowl. 11 a.m. Black Friday. I'm sorry, 11 a.m. local time. 12 noon Eastern kickoff for Ole Miss in Mississippi State. Distractions, just a few, Paul. And does a guy that I think of 136 D1 coaches or FBS coaches, um, Lane Kiffin is at the top of my list as most involved in game management and play calling and everything, and the actual game, managing the game, impacting the game itself. I mean, they're the top of the list, maybe the top of the list. We know about his strength is a play caller and sequencing and things like that, and he's got the sheet. He's making the calls. He's deciding whether they go for it on fourth down, like they did 7 times in a game previously. But man, some of them guys got to be pissed off in that locker room. I mean, now probably they're more loyal or allegiant to the coach, maybe than the school or the program these days. But I mean, there's distractions, and then there's this Lane Kiffin circus. I mean, this is, and you could tell by the release of Keith Carter, the athletic director at Ole Miss, he's not happy. Read between the lines. So it sure does seem this is good. And when does Lane Kiffin depart gracefully? So here we go again. The $1 million questions. How is it going to impact what we see on the field on Friday?
Yeah, Ole Miss, they're on the cusp of securing their first ever invitation to the college football playoff and would almost certainly do so with the victory at Mississippi State on Friday. But with head coach Lane Kiffin, as you said, just juggling these multiple high dollar coaching opportunities at the season's most critical time, the distractions swirling around this program just have to be through the roof. And one would have to expect that it's going to impact the team's on the field performance against Mississippi State. I just don't think there's any way that won't be the case. And especially in Starkville, where the cowbells are going to be clanging, that's going to provide a little extra mental clutter in the collective minds of the Ole Miss players. Just a difficult situation. I'll likely ultimately end up with a small position taking Mississippi State as a side. But here's a little food for thought. Power ratings, you talked about the look ahead lines and the way this line has come down to its current consensus of 7 points, Mississippi favored. Power ratings, mine and basically everybody else's that's been doing it for a while, have this game centered somewhere between 7 and 10. So I think 8.5 really on Sunday is kind of the natural line where this line should have opened without the Lane Kiffin circus that's going on there in Oxford and beyond. So the line makers, they've already got a little, Lane Kiffin's looking around baked into the number. It's already part of it. So you're kind of paying a premium if you elect to go ahead and play the Bulldogs, because that's certainly factored into the number. Something that's keeping me from playing Mississippi State, and I would have taken the 7 points at this point, but hadn't been talked about a whole lot. But two of the best players in their program might not play against Ole Miss, and you got to think probably one of them won't, maybe both of them won't. But they're a top wide receiver, their leading wide receiver, and their vertical threat, Brennan Thompson. He missed a recent missed time recently. They're both on the mend, and then they're all SEC safety. Isaac Smith, the best player on their defense. He was in a walking boot in their last game during the game. So both these guys, we'll see what the SEC availability report says. It'll be coming out, I guess, with the game on Friday. Maybe it'll come out Wednesday. But look at that and see how these guys, not that that's going to be the most transparent, accurate characterization of their actual status, but see what their status is. Brennan Thompson, the wide receiver at Mississippi State, and Isaac Smith, the safety, because they're going to need all hands on deck to beat Ole Miss. But my inclination is, despite the fact that we're not getting numerical value, I just think situationally this is a tough spot for Ole Miss, especially on the road, especially with the stakes so high, and especially with Mississippi State on the other sideline. So I'll likely get involved at some point with the Bulldogs.
All right, let's get to our final pick for the high-profile games, the ranked matchups that everybody's going to be watching. Got a lot of them. Let's go to the one that you're familiar with the most, Paul, and that's Texas and Texas A&M. Now, this will be the the second time in the SEC, first time in Austin for this matchup. Now, Longhorns won on the road in College Station last year on their way to the college football playoff. And Texas A&M, well, they're on their way to the college football playoff this year. Texas A&M at home right now at Bet Rivers 2.5, 51.5 this year. And Paul, and this is real simple. A&M's better this year. So, I mean, I know it's a rivalry. I know it's on the road, but man, I just like the approach from Elko. And, you get, hey, Howard Duke's coach. How exciting is that? Well, you've seen down the line hires. I mean, Pete Carroll is about the sixth or seventh choice for USC. And Alabama, before they hired Nick Saban, they offered Rich Rodriguez. He turned them down, or they would have never gotten to Nick Saban. So it works out that way. But Elko does not do it with gimmicks. He's a line of scrimmage coach, and you got to tell the way this team plays. And as bad as they were in digging that 30-3 halftime deficit against South Carolina, you got to give them a lot of credit for coming back as well. And I think the two quarterbacks, I think Manning in year one, year two for Marcel Reed in year one, I'll take Manning. But Marcel Reed in year two and Manning, even though he's improving in year one, I think there's an advantage for the Aggies at quarterback as well. Better team on the road, revenge spot. You don't have to get these two teams excited. There's no looking ahead or anything like that. So I'm going to go with the Aggies minus the 2.5.
Yeah, I've anticipated leading up to this game, last week, as I'm looking forward to this Week 14 schedule, rivalry week, I said, man, I'll be taking the Aggies. It's going to be something less than 3 points. Most of us who have experience at this and maintain power ratings, it's pretty clear it's going to be under 3, but that A&M's going to be favored. And, man, I said, I'm going to take the Aggies. Like you, they're the better team. But I just have not yet been able to pull the trigger. One thing that's keeping me from pulling the trigger is 3 numbers: 77, 37, and 5. And that's Texas's all-time advantage in this series. During my lifetime, I've seen a number of times where A&M probably have the better team, but maybe that burnt orange, as much as they despise the burnt orange, has caused some roadblocks. But looking at the breakdown of the game, this game apparently is not going to have any playoff implications, because Texas A&M, regardless of what they do against Texas, they're going to be in the 12-team playoff. And by the looks of things, Texas, even if they beat Texas A&M at home Friday, will be on the outside looking in. I would say that, Texas obviously has a massive brand, and it wouldn't just shock me if they got in the playoff, but that doesn't seem to be where we're headed at this point. And you look at Texas A&M, with the exception, you mentioned their slow start against South Carolina. in College Station a couple of weeks ago. Other than that hiccup, man, they have been quite consistent. They have been a dominant team at times on both sides of the ball. And you mentioned Mike Elko, and everybody's going to get players out of the portal. They're going to have players leave, and they're going to pick up players. And some teams do better in the portal, have done better in the portal than others. And Mike Elko, he adds this year Kevin Concepcion, KC Concepcion from NC State at wide receiver, Mario Craver from Mississippi State. Those guys have been impactful for the Aggies on offense. And then the guy who was with the Aggies last year, so they got him before the 2024 season, Cassius Howell, one of the best edge rushers in all of college football, the transfer from Bowling Green. So he has hit some home runs in the portal. Not just guys filling up space, but guys, difference makers, impact players there for the Aggies. Texas has shown some chinks in its armor this year. Without question, they lose at Florida. That was a healthy Florida team. I've heard a lot of people talk about three-win Florida. Not a great team, but they were at near, not full health, but they were as healthy as they've been all year against the Longhorns. Certainly not the case at the present for the Gators. They narrowly escaped, did Texas, in overtime victories at both Kentucky and Mississippi State. But all those missteps were on the road. Texas is 5-0 at home this year. It has been a pretty easy home schedule without question, but they're 5-0 this year. They're 17-1 at home over the last 3 seasons at DKR Memorial Stadium. So they'll be a tough out on Friday night. On paper, again, A&M's a superior team. But, it's not like Texas is devoid of talent. Arch Manning is starting to play. He's starting to recognize things. And the biggest improvement that Arch Manning has shown, in my opinion, has been early in the year when the pocket started collapsing. He just looked like a fish out of water. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to step up in the pocket. He didn't know how to feel that pressure coming from his blind side, the things you have to do as a major college quarterback at the highest level. But man, he has gotten just night and day better at that, stepping up at the pocket, going side to side, backing up. And he's a player, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays on even terms with Marcel Reed on Friday. But this is going to be an interesting game. As much as I was going to take A&M before, if it ticks up to 3, and I don't think it will, because I think these books know that sharps will come in. Sharps are just laying in the weeds right now, waiting for it to hit 3. And if it's 3, they're going to get loaded up on Texas. But I'll have to I might hate myself in the morning, but I'll probably take a bite of the apple if A&M goes to a 3-point favorite, and I'll take the Longhorns. But going to be a great game, just one of the better rivalries in all of college football, and looking forward to Friday night in Austin.
All right. So, boy, how about the line shift on this one since the summer, huh? Almost 2 touchdown swing or a little bit more from the summer. Certainly, Texas preseason #1 and Texas A&M way better than what they were expected to be. All right. We'll be back later in the week with our best bets. So, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Good luck to everyone from everyone over here at College Sports Rush YouTube channel and my buddy Paul Stone. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you later in the week.